It's finally confirmed on the 25th of May, Zambia versus Barcelona Legends, where the likes of Ronaldinho will be in the country, and hopefully will be there to just support our lads, because I saw on social media people saying hope Muzi but just support Barcelona. But anyway, welcome to Off the Pitch, the show that comes your way every Saturday. That's at 9:30, and we are here to give you nothing but the best in terms of sports. And I'm your host, Amos, aka Amore, and I'm not alone on set. I'm joined by one Augustine, as we've also excused Dangorapson this week because he's got an engagement that he has to take care of. Augustine, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Amos. It's always a pleasure to be here. We turn all the glory and honor to the Most High God. Good morning to our viewers out there. We always appreciate your time and tuning into this show. We hope to give you nothing but the very best in terms of sport. And as you know, Amos, it's been a very, very eventful week in terms of the Junior Chipolo Polo on the verge of being eliminated, and the Super League Power Dynamos closing in on that league title to be confirmed champions of the Zambian Super League. And again, the Women's Super League goes to the wire. Red Arrows and GBFC will fight for the title tomorrow. If Red Arrows win, they are crown champions. If Red Arrows drop points and GBFC win, they are crown champions. That is very, very interesting. If you look at the Premier League, Arsenal and Man City are on 79 points, Arsenal on 78 points. Same with the Women's League. Red Arrows are on 79 points and GBFC on 78 points as of week 34. I think it's an
interesting week, huh?
Yeah, very, very interesting.
But anyway, just a quick one, Augustine, before we take a look at all those things. Let's take a look at the same information that I've just given. It's an exhibition match between the Barcelona Legends and that's the Zambia Legends, I would say. Those are the AFCON winning team in an exhibition match that will be played at Hero Stadium. That's on the 25th of May 2023. How is this good for marketing our sports in Zambia?
I think it's very, very interesting. We are having these people that have played at the very, very highest level in terms of football. They've played at the World Cup. They've played at UEFA Champions League. So there are a lot of people that are coming in with rich history to play in Zambia. It's very, very good for the marketing side of things. An exhibition match, we've seen these all over Africa, especially South Africa. They've hosted a lot of these games. Kenya, likewise, they've done the same. I think this is a step in the right direction. We need to start seeing probably even these European teams coming down here for pre-season to play Zesco United, Ghana Power, Red Arrows, Zanaco, likewise, and many other teams. It's one step going forward. And what do we learn from this outing? We need to try and get as much information as we can from the people that are coming in to try and help our football go forward in terms of club football, the national team. These people that are coming in are very, very knowledgeable about the game, and they understand it very well. So this is an opportunity for Zambia to interact with these people, not just the game side, the game that will be played on the 27th, is it?
25th.
Yeah. So you need to try and find a way of engaging with these people to try and bring new ideas on board to help our football going forward. It's going to be a cross pull, I believe, because a lot of people are looking forward to this encounter. And our legends, we've forgotten about some of them. Some are still actively playing, like the likes of James Chamanga is actively playing.
Nathan Singala.
Sambarungu, Nathan Sinkala. Those are one of the few that are active. We've got one who is still in foreign land in Evans Kangwan's Topiran Sunzu. So if we can try and bring the cream de la cream of the 2012 all together, and it will be an interesting encounter.
You know, this is another fill-up Hero Stadium, I would say, and I know for this game a lot of spectators will be there. But for now, we'll just take a very short break, as we get back and take a look at the run of our under-17 lads, and we see how the league is getting hot. And when I mean the league, and I don't just mean the men's league, but if we see the women's table as well, it's something that is very hot. And we'll come and take a look at the Super Division League as well, and as well as the Division 1. For now, we'll just take a short break.
Hey, join me, Amazing Katamanda, on the weekly gospel show for those exciting and interesting interviews with your favorite gospel
Hold on to me when it's too dark to see. You cannot do
Hallelujah. And this time around, we are bringing to you entertainment news and the countdown, as you guys are able to nominate your top 3 favorite music videos of the week. Remember, it's every Saturday at 10:45. You can also catch repeats every Monday at 10 hours. Camnet TV is not just another time.
A disappointing start so far for our under-17 lads, where they've played 2 games and they've lost both games. In the first game, they were beaten by Nigeria, that's by a goal to nil. In the second game, we were beaten by our old timers and our old rivals, so that's South Africa, in a game that had 5 goals in it, and South Africa managed to beat us by 3 goals to 2. Augustine, a game that I watched, and I wasn't very impressed in how the lads failed to hold on to that game.
It was very, very disappointing how we went into the game against South Africa. I felt we were very, very complacent, having beaten South Africa twice at the region games in the COSAFA, when we beat them in the group stages and eventually went on to beat them in the final. But what South Africa have done is that they've beefed up their squad during this period. Probably they've studied how we play. They've brought in players that have brought in something different into the team. There's that German, the guy who was supposed to be representing Nigeria, but eventually went on to represent South Africa. Is from Germany. You could see that they were thinking ahead and they were planning properly around this tournament, but we didn't do that as Zambia. If you look at the first game that we played against Nigeria, the first half was very, very poor. It could have been 3 or 4. Then in the second half, we stepped up our gear. We played in probably gear 2, and we gave Nigeria a little bit of problems. We looked like a team that was going to fight toe to toe against any team in the group. We lost that game 1 goal to nil, which wasn't the waste of performances by the boys. You had hope. I personally had hope going into the game against South Africa. Having the record that we had over South Africa in this age group tournaments, we thought that we would go into this tournament and get the job done. Against South Africa, I think we were just too sloppy early on. We didn't start at the very, very high tempo. The players somewhere were playing at the very, very high tempo, some were very, very low. You could see that the balance wasn't right. They went and conceded 2 early goals. It was good how they responded from that. I think Emmanuel Mwanza is one of the players that I was looking forward to watch at this tournament, because he's one boy who's very, very direct. He loves to run at people. He's got the energy, he's got the pace and the physique. If you ask me, Amos, I would have taken a draw from that game. Coming from the 2-0 scoreline, we were down by 2 goals to nil, and getting it to 2-2, I would have taken a draw at that point, so that we can have something to play for in the game against Morocco. I think we really need to look at our youth structures. Where are we getting it wrong? We need to try and find the root cause to this, because we cannot have under 17 on the verge of being eliminated group stage, under 20 group stage elimination, under 23 they didn't even qualify to the Africa Cup of Nations. So where is our football in the sense of the short term, medium term and long term? It's worrying if you look at these age group teams, because in the next 5-6 years, these are the same boys that probably will be representing us at the highest level. If they cannot perform very well at this this level, then we have got problems. But the positives that you can get from the under 17 compared to the 23 and the 20s, that these guys the boys were a little bit brave. They wanted to play. It's just that probably some principles that they didn't follow very well, or probably the coaches didn't give them enough information going into the field of play that would have helped the boys in terms of getting out of the group. There are stages like when we went back to 2-2, we leveled the game. Now that's when the coaches will need to come and give the boys a lot of help from there to try and see how do we manage the situation, because we were the team that had the momentum. We leading by 2-2. We're down by 2-0. Then we level it to 2-2. We could have gotten a step further, but there are a lot of positives that we can pick from the tournament. There are a lot of boys that looked like when we polish them very well, they will be top class players. The Herman Senya, one of the centre backs who is played against Siame. There was a lot of talk with Siame on social media. He plays very well. He's a very composed centre back, very calm. And our holding midfielder, Captain Aaron Andrew, expected a lot from him going into this tournament, but he hasn't lived up to expectation. Same applies to Joseph Riteta from Atletico Lusaka, a very good midfielder, but it hasn't happened for him at the tournament. We've seen players like Obvious Mwalit, a very good ball-playing midfielder. He's very intelligent. He's one for the future. If we can nurture him very well, develop him into a top-class midfielder, I think he will produce the good for us. Our centre-forward, always isolated in the games that we've played. We can try and find a way of trying to get Emmanuel Mwanza closer to him, together with Jonas and Kalimina, a little bit close to the centre forward. Probably we would get the result from there. And all in all, the association will need now to look how do we draft a program for the under 17, 20 and 23 that will be very solid, that will help us to try and have a better team going forward. I think I've been one person who has always advocated for let this position be full-time coaches, not coaches that are engaged with their clubs. Because, truth be told, how many under-17 players does Ian Bakala look at every week? Because he's in the Super League, heat of the moment. How many under-17 players are playing in the Super League? Probably he's relying on other people to try and bring him the information of players that are doing well. I think we'll need a coach who is full-time, who will go around the 10 provinces to try and find those hidden gems that are in these other provinces. Let's try and have a technical team that is full-time under 17. They will pick players on merit. They will pick players across the country that will represent Zambia. A lot of cry has been these junior national teams are just Lusaka and the Copper Belt. And you have to agree, because a lot of players that are in these teams, they come from Lusaka and the Copper Belt. So we need to try and improve the way we run our youth football. Probably have a very strong youth league that runs across the country. That's when we'll get the best talent from there. When you remember when we had Airtel Rising Stars, our under 17 being led by Patson Daka qualified for the Africa Cup of Nations. Yes, they went and finished in the group stages as well, but at least we identified players like Patson Daka, Changwe Kalale, may so rest in peace, and a number of other players. There are a lot of boys that came through the Airtel system. If you can have another project that will see us try and tap talent, even those hidden gems in areas where probably we cannot go and look for players, but we need to start going across the country looking for talent. I think the clubs will need to come in and help the association here, because if you look at our clubs, there are a few clubs that have got strong youth teams. That's something which they are not even paying attention to it. It's just there to just have the qualifications of club licensing. This is what I've noticed in Zambian football. They just have that because club licensing requires us to have a youth team. That's why you have got the youth team, but they're not paying attention. There is no investment in those youth teams. If you look at teams like Manchester City, teams that are doing very well, they have invested in
under
youth
10, under 12.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you are seeing players like Phil Foden embracing the big stages for them and probably helping them winning the league title and probably the Champions League. If we can have that in Zambia, I think we'll have a lot of pride.
I think one thing, Augustine, that you've raised, and that's very important, is we need to have permanent structures in terms of where national team is concerned. You spoke of under 17 level, but let's look at the poor performance that we've had as well in terms of under 20, under 23 going forward. Maybe it's high time we start employing permanent managers for these international levels in terms of under 17 and under 20, where you have someone who is permanent, and like you just get someone from a club who is concentrating already on the club. But going forward, Augustine, we are remaining with one game, the game that we're going to play against Morocco, and we are hoping we would beat Morocco so that we can have high chances of qualifying as in best losers. Maybe try to break it through how the best loser is selected to go through.
Yeah, the best loser will be the third best placed teams in the groups that we have at the tournament. So if we finish fourth in our group, we do not stand a chance of qualifying as the best loser. We are eventually eliminated, regardless of the points that you finish on compared to the other groups. It doesn't mean best losers will take 4 from the group because they have finished on good points. They just take the third best placed teams in the groups, and probably South Africa do stand a chance. Nigeria, because they are on 3 points, either of them, they are facing each other. One of the two will qualify as the best loser. Zambia will need to try and have a huge swing in terms of goal difference to qualify for the best losers. I was looking at the permutations. CAF always goes for head-to-head. So if CAF were going for head-to-head in this tournament, eventually we would have been already eliminated. But for this tournament, there's a difference. They have gone first for points. The points where you finish on. Then the second, they have gone for goal difference. When goal difference now cannot separate the teams, that's when now head-to-head will come in. But I think we still stand a chance because it's goal difference and not head-to-head. If it was head-to-head, because Nigeria and South Africa have both beaten us, we would have been eliminated, and they're already on 3 points. And going forward, I think Amos, we've talked about having permanent coaches in these youth teams. The big reason is that when you have got permanent coaches who are overseeing these youth teams, they will have to try and go around the country, pick the best talent and bring them to the national team. And after that, people will argue, why should we have a coach for a team which plays maybe 5 times a year, maybe 3 times a year, or even less? The important part is that these teams are developmental. And once we are talking about developmental, it's not just developmental at the national team, and that's the end. We need to try and trace these boys where they're going at their respective clubs. The coaches might share notes with their clubs, say, let's have a certain program for this player so that they develop this aspect of their game. There are a lot of things that a full-time coach can try and help in terms of us having a very, very good junior national soccer team going forward. Against Morocco, very, very tough encounter. And Morocco look favorites to qualify top of the group. Nigeria are not the Nigeria I thought they were. They were going to be in this tournament. They haven't been as ruthless as they expected. But Nigeria probably will beat South Africa and qualified as automatic qualification with Morocco. What we need to do is we need to start strong against Morocco. We've started slow in the games that we've played against South Africa and Nigeria. We need to be very, very brave. Let's take the game to Morocco. We have got nothing to lose at this stage because whatever happens, probably we will be eliminated. Even a win is not good enough for us this afternoon as we take on Morocco. But we just have to be brave and take the game to Morocco.
Let's look at the team that started, Augustine. Would you go with the same 11 that started the last game?
You need to make changes. You need to make changes. Probably in defense, you made probably a couple of changes in defense. Maybe bring in one fullback, because the fullbacks haven't been very, very impressive. I saw the young boy on the left side of defense was very much isolated in the 2 games that we played. Central midfield, he needs to change the shape in central midfield, bringing an extra midfielder to try and complement the other midfielders. Probably he hasn't started Lini Kambesoma yet, and I feel this is the time.
But how would you rate his play so far?
His cameo has been very, very good. If I have to be honest, he looks sharp. He looks to have a very, very educated football brain, and he may just be the guy that probably would see us beat Morocco. They can try and bring him in, start him, and see what he gives us.
We are playing we are playing Morocco, and that's in our last game, and our hope is that we manage to beat Morocco by maybe so many goals so that we stand a chance of being selected or qualify in the as in the best losers from the group. But let's switch our attention, Augustine. We don't talk about this, Augustine. It's been an interesting run so far in the women's league in Zambia, and if we notice, we've seen how our ladies have been performing in terms of national team duty. But let's take a look at how the league is so far. And you made mention earlier to say it's a race that a lot of people are looking at. That's GBFC and Red Arrows who are standing on top. But so far, what's the overall view that you've observed in terms of this season's women's league?
It's been a step up compared to the previous years that we've had in terms of women's football. By this stage, most years GBFC would have been running away with the league title. They would have been already confirmed champions, but Red Arrows have really pushed Green Buffaloes this season. And amongst Red Arrows, you would note that they've lost about 2 games in the league. They have been very consistent in terms of performances. And one player that has really helped the fortunes of Red Arrows has been the coming back of Susan Band. I think she's back to her level base, very good form. If you see how Susan plays in central midfield with Meli Wirombe, it gives you the idea why Red Arrows are where they are right now. They have been very consistent in their performances away from home at Koloma Stadium. They've picked vital points, and we cannot talk about Red Arrows without talking about the big Ochumba Oseke. She's been brilliant for Red Arrows, and not are we just going to the wire in terms of the title race with Red Arrows on 79 points and Green Buffaloes on 78 points. Even the Golden Boot, we are going to the wire because Simona Mapepa, she's standing on 28 points. She's the previous top scorer of the league. Then on 26 goals, it's Ochumba Oseke. So 2 goals difference between Ochumba Oseke and Simona Mapepa. The Golden Boot as well is going to the wire. So it's been a very good league. If you look at Zesco United, what they've done, Avo Chutundu has been brilliant for them. They've got vast experience. Central defense, she's been very solid. She's been seen call-ups to the senior national soccer team. If you look at Elite Lusaka Dynamos, Shimona Mapepa, she's been carrying the hopes of the team on her shoulders. They have performed very good football. And Green Buffaloes, after losing Helen Chanda, Irene Lungu, and Martha Tembo, who moved on to Turkey, you would have thought Buffaloes,
maybe they'll lose it. Yeah,
they lose their touch, but they have been there. They've been fighting. Melan has been their leading scorer with 22 goals. She's been played in different positions. She's one of the most versatile players in the league. But you could see, I think GBFC you cannot just push them away. They are a very good and consistent team. They did their recruitment very well. They brought in one exciting young girl in Maweta, who moved from Bauleni Youth Soccer Academy to Green Buffaloes, and she's been one of those players that have been the gem to this GBFC team, with Natasha Nanyangwe carrying the responsibilities of these big players that have left the football club. And a team that have struggled this year, one of my favorite teams in this women's league is Busa. I think they're one team that almost when you watch them, they'll always entertain you. They play good football. They are very brave young girls, and tomorrow they might just have a say in the title race as they host Red Arrows. It's either at Margaret Manakatwe or the Cranes. So we are yet to find out which venue this game will be played. But I believe it's the Margaret Manakatwe Stadium, as Busa hosts Red Arrows, who only need 1 win to be crowned the champions of the Women's Super League for the first time in the club history.
So tomorrow, I think it's a season finale. That's for the Women's League. And like Augustine has said, it's something that we are looking forward to. And my hope is I'll be able to watch the Busa Queens versus Red Arrows game. And you were doubting Augustine, but it will be played at the Margaret Manakatwe Stadium. And so let me just give an overview in terms of the games that are there tomorrow. So we've got Sunday, 7th May 2023. At 15 hours, we've got Busa Queens versus Red Arrows Women. That will be played at the Margaret Manakatwe. That's in Bauleni, Lusaka. And we've got Queen's Sport Academy versus Green Buffaloes Women. That's at ZNS Rugby Ground. That's in Kawe. And we've got ZISD Women versus Play It Forward Queens. That will be played at Independence Stadium, Lusaka. And then we've got Trident Queens versus National Assembly. That will be played at Sentinel Ground, Kalumbira. We've got Mufulira Wanderers Women versus Yasa Queens, Shinde Stadium. Green Eagles Women versus Indeni Roses, Crested Crane. We've got Zesco Ndola Girls versus Prison Leopards, Queens Trade Fair. And we've got Zanako Ladies versus Police Dove Queens to be communicated. And we've got Nkwazi versus Elite Ladies Woodlands. And Augustine, if you look at how the games have been being played tomorrow, we are seeing both teams that are fighting for the title playing away from home. And let's just take a look at the Queen Sports Academy versus Green Buffaloes Women. That will be played at ZNS, Augustine.
Buffalo, all they need to do is win their game and hope. That's what they need to do. They need to go and play Queens, win, and then hope results go their way in bowling, because Red Arrows, it's in their hands. Once Red Arrows beat Butha tomorrow, then they are crown champions. They've been very, very consistent, Red Arrows, and I do not see them bottling it at this stage. I think it's going to be very, very good for the league, to be honest, if Red Arrows win this league, because Green Buffaloes have always dominated this league. They have been the only name on the trophy in terms of women's football. So we need Red Arrows to win so that it does not become a farmers league. Once Buffaloes win it again, it will be a farmers league, because if Red Arrows do not win this season, they will lose some players that will move on, because they will see that they will need a new challenge. But once Red Arrows win the league, they will reinforce and then challenge Buffaloes again next season. We need to see teams like Zesco. Zesco will need to be up there to challenge for the league title. In the first half of the season, they were very, very impressive, Zesco. They got very, very important victories, and Elite Lusaka Dynamos were one of the teams that I thought were going to be one of the dark horses in terms of the women's league. But I think we have to give credit to individuals like Oliver Shalala. He's done brilliant with his Elite Lusaka Dynamos women's team. And
let's just speak this call, guys. Hello? Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, sir.
I'm recording from Mafinga.
How's my finger, Mr. Mtali?
Mafinga is fine. How is Lusaka?
Lusaka is brilliant. Do we have the next Enoch Mwepu in Mafinga, or maybe a part on Dhaka?
Still part of that.
You can go ahead with your contribution.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Mr. Augustine.
Good morning.
Thank you. Actually, I'm very much interested in your program there. Now, my concern is that, coming to Zambia, women in soccer has been on the spot. And, of course, even in our Southern Africa. But one surprising thing is that you don't televise. As some of us, we are in a lot of areas and want to see our women, more especially from the being televised there. So our view is that please, these games for the women, let's be also televised in future.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No,
thank you very much. That's actually one of a very, very good contribution.
Yeah, true.
It's something that in the background, I think there's been a lot of talk in terms of how do we try and bring the women's football on the scene. How do we get the entire public engaged? I think is one thing that's been looked at. Probably it might be one of the curtain raisers to the Super League games in future. We may have maybe one game in a week being televised in terms of women's football, being the curtain raiser for the MTN's Men's Super League. That can be something which can be very, very good in terms of even crowd puller. We will try and have a lot of numbers in the stadium. Even people like Ms. Antare from Mafinga will watch.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
You can go ahead with
Hello,
your
good morning.
contribution.
Yes, I just wanted to talk about the Red Arrows Greek Buffaloes Women's League title race.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. You can go ahead.
Yes, I was also expecting Greek Buffaloes to perform well. Yes, even like the storm when they said, these ladies also had a very good season. Yes, and it's up to the wire for Red Arrows to push Buffaloes aside
Yeah.
and take the lead.
So what's your prediction? How is the wire going to end? Are you giving it to Red Arrows?
Red Arrows, very good team. I trust that Ochumba would like that league to go to Red Arrows. So I think Red Arrows might start Greek Buffaloes.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Red Arrows. Although I'm a big fan of Greek Buffaloes, the way they group their players, the way they talent bench and bring into that, that's a very, I can say, it's even better than most attacks.
They are very professional, yes.
Yes, and we have the best four from Greek Buffaloes that represent the national team. Out in Turkey, I think. The Greek Buffaloes growing is very good, but Red Arrows, I think Red Arrows, they really want it.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you
coming
very much
through.
for coming through. And maybe, Augustine, just one thing that I've come to observe is, do you think there is enough funding that is being given to the Women's League?
No, I think even just the sake of publicity, when we're talking about the league title going to the wire tomorrow, there's less publicity about the women's game.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are not talking about it. There's no that much hype in terms of the women's league. I think we need to try and change. There are a lot of people that I know personally that have been involved in women's football. Van Nicholas, Aaron Mwanga Jr.,
yeah.
Moses Pedro. I think they've done a lot in terms of women's football and giving us the information with regards to women's football. I think we need to try and cover women's football as much as we cover men's football, because it's a league which is growing, and the football is growing, and he's brought in points of, he expected GBFC to run away with the title. Personally, I thought GBFC again were going to run away with the league title because they are very, very strong Amos. They're not just the champions of Zambia, they're champions of the region. They won the Kosafa tournament, beating Mamelodi Sundowns in the final. That's not an easy achievement. Yeah. So you could see Buffaloes are one of the most organized teams in Zambia in terms of women's football. They are more organized than some men's football clubs in Zambia. A lot of teams need to learn from Green Buffaloes in terms of their recruitment, in terms of how they treat the girls. I think we need to try and go in that direction.
Hello? Hello?
Through to off the pitch.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. Your name and where you are calling us from, sir?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, thank you so much. This is the Enoch Mari calling you from Eastern Province.
Oh, okay. How is
How is the Eastern?
We are doing fine. Book this week to be specific.
Okay.
Oh, okay. You can go ahead with your contribution.
I want to contribute on the performance of our under 17.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I like the point from the other man that he contributed concerning on the point of our under 17. Yeah, we do understand that we all want it about our race, but in terms of football, it's different. You know, a lot of people do concentrate the game nowadays, as you know, and when we are disappointed.
Oh,
sorry.
Lost. I think it's due to network. So, Augustine, as I think one thing we are trying to forget is maybe, regardless of how development certain countries are, but let's just be realistic. When you look at the UK, there is a women's league here, which, when you look at the attendance, It's far different from even the attendance that we give here in the MTN Super League. But when you look at the publicity that's there, it's very high. But some time back, we never used to show that's Division 1 football. Not until a deal was made and it started airing, whereby maybe we have 2 or 3 games being showed every weekend. But what's so hard for us to do as wise with the women's? Because when we look at, okay, sorry to say this, I'm not coming out so harsh, but when we look at the hype and the caliber of the Women's Super League, you can't compare it to the first Division 1. No. That's a fact.
Yeah. So if you look at our Women's Super League, how much information do people out there have about the teams? I think it's very, very difficult to try and get information in terms of women's football unless the individuals that I've mentioned earlier, Aaron Mwanga, Pedro, and Vanicola Shongo. These are people that cover these games week in, week out, and they will give you information to detail with regards women's football. But what are we doing in terms of the media side of things, coverage? I think we are very, very poor, if you have to be honest. Even the association themselves, how much do they hype the games in terms of women's football? We'll see them hype the Kitwe Derby, we see them hype the men's game, but what do we do?
Who are the major sponsors for the women's league?
We've got.
Now let's just pick this call. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning. How are you?
Oh,
Good,
okay.
thanks, how are you?
Your name and where you are calling us from?
Yes, this is Samuel Samtet here, calling from Kitwe.
Yes, Mr. Samuel.
Yes. Congratulations, panel, for the work you are doing.
Oh,
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, my contribution is just a few words or a few points.
Okay, you can go ahead.
Yes, point number 1 is I'm talking about the under-20 national team football, men. Yes, from the time of memorial, things are about the University Dhaka, Mwepu, and Fashion, that index, that field which harvested those men, those boys. Now, up to now, we will not yet harvested any. This is now years, almost 2 years or 3 years ago. Now, is any opportunity of finding another players like those and the criteria they used? My question is, have they failed or not? Since then up to now, we're struggling in terms of qualification of under 20 men national team. And also under 17, because we look at the performance. You see? Yes, sir. Now, my question is the time, and also from the harvest what they did up to now, is there any analysis of the harvest or what has gone wrong from the grassroots football?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
No, thank you very much for that point.
Yeah.
Yes, and also for the national team, Copa Queen. Yeah, we are hoping for all the best to them, so that to make sure that you see that is the World Cup football. Now we need the World Cup standard of thinking, and also the system they're going to use. You see, our Zambian coaches, you know, when the match, when the football, or when the game is too on this, they run out of
ideas.
Yeah, we have been studying over this. So please, maybe you may talk about it, so that when that time comes, we don't maneuver, like we don't like and terms of consistency.
Thank you.
To our coaches. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think Augustine, there's always this point that you keep on emphasizing. Every time we talk about developmental football and how we managed to succeed with the under-20 team that had the likes of Patson Daka, Enoch Mwepu, you always mention the Airtel Rising Stars, if you've noticed. And there was some tournaments that were being done back then in terms of schools. That's where the likes of Luvambo Msonda was discovered, came through, you get. So it's more of, he's asking the question to say, don't we have people who can fuse out players in the likes of Patson Daka and create a team that was there?
Yeah, I think if you look at the association, there are a lot of knowledgeable people that I appreciate. I think Mr. Evalengwe Mumba, who is the acting General Secretary of the association, is one who understands the game very, very well. And another one who is technical director, who is overseeing all the projects in Lyson Zulu. I think they need to try and re-strategize how best can we try and pick the best talent out there. I believe there's talent in Mafinga. We've had a caller from Mafinga. There's talent in Mafinga. Then there's talent in Vubwi. There's talent in Choma. There's talent in Mumbwa. There's talent everywhere across Zambia. So how do we cast our net wide? I think we need to try and strategize. In the 10 provinces, let's have probably a selecting committee that will pick the finest talent from each province. Each of the 10 provinces, let's pick the finest talent from the 10 provinces, let them compete at the national level, and then we pick the best talent from there. I think we've got a lot of potential in Zambia. We just need to try and discover some potential and then bring them to the big league. I think even the clubs, I've always talked about it, the clubs will need to go in and help, because clubs need to go around the country to scout it for talent. Because you see a player today come, like Fashion Sakala, comes in this Super League, takes it by storm, is off to Russia. There's another Fashion Sakala out there. There's another Edward Chilufya. One thing about Edward Chilufya never played in the Zambian Super League. He never played. Edward Chilufya came from Pande Youth Academy. After being discovered at under 20 level, then he came and played the Africa Cup of Nations, did very well, which saw him in a move to Sweden. He never played in this league. So there's another player out there in Lufunsa who is probably heading the same steps.
Belal,
you are through to off the pitch.
Hello.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Morning, how are you?
Fine. Your name and where you are calling us from, sir?
I'm calling from South.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
You can go ahead with your contribution.
Yes. What I can just say is that that team is good, but it's being served by the court. Yes. When you look at that player, Monte, he's a very good player. Almost all the players are good. But it's only that maybe the coach, I don't know what happened to the coach. Because the first game that we played in Nigeria, it was fantastic, regardless of winning us. Yes. So I'm sure the coach, the problem is the coach, the communication between the coach and the player.
Yeah.
Yes. That's my contribution.
No, thank you very much, sir.
I think he's brought up another point which the previous scholar has brought up in terms of the technical side of things. How do our coaches read the game? How do they translate the information with what they're seeing on the field of play? I think having information is one thing, and then using it is another. I think that's where we're lacking in terms of reading the game. I think we need to try and improve our coaches as well in terms of developing them, how to read the game, technical aspects, because the previous caller is right. In some games, I think it was just about the coaches giving the right information to the boys, keeping them in a certain structure to try and see the result. The same with the women's football. When we went to these friendlies, you can see that we are being exposed because our technical bench is not reading the game. I think this is an area where we really need to improve. He talked about one thing, the other caller said, let's start thinking like we are at the World Cup. Let's think in those directions. Because at the World Cup, it's no children's play. It's going to be very, very difficult. We are going to play highly technically gifted teams with very, very good infrastructures where they're coming from. We need to try and up our game in terms of the technical side of things. Talent is there, without a doubt. But talent has to go hand in hand with very, very good coaching with the right information.
That's the same point that Augustine raised earlier, where he said we need someone who is very, very permanent in terms of these football structures that we have, because it's just an issue of how do you gel as a coach with a player. But it takes just some few weeks. So okay, they are now in camp, so it's very difficult for a coach to understand players on a personal basis. But hopefully going forward, if we can just have permanent coaches for these national teams. But due to time, Augustine, let's just quick take a look at some of the games that are being played in Division 1 before we go through the fixtures in our MTN Super League. At 13 hours today, we've got Kafue Celtic versus Jumulo, and it will be played at the Independence Stadium, Lusaka. That's at 13, and at 15 hours, Young Buffaloes versus City of Lusaka. We've got a double header at Independence Stadium. And at 15 hours, we've got Livingston Pirates versus Atletico Lusaka. We've got Trident versus Kongola Blades. Kafue Eagles versus Aguila Stars. Mufulira Wanderers versus Indeni. Zesco Malaiti versus Mpulungu Heba. And tomorrow, we've got Bats versus Kitwe United. Mutondo Stars versus Lusaka Dynamos. Augustine, some of the interesting and exciting games that are here, we've got mighty Mufulira Wanderers, who somehow needs a win to make it through back to the MTN Super League.
There are two important things that will happen this afternoon in the National League if it happens. One is if Mighty Mufulira Wanderers beat Indeni Football Club this afternoon at Shinde Ground, Shinde Stadium, they will be promoted back to the Super League. MTN, yeah. And information coming from Mufulira is that they have opened the gates. It's free of charge. I think Mighty Mufulira Wanderers are very, very clever. They want the 12th player to push the team to see them back into the Super League. I think they have been one of the highest scorers in the league with 47 goals, if I'm not mistaken. They have got the likes of Patson Kaitana, very, very good midfielder. Even Abraham Grant saw it, and according to the national team, they have got Wembia Kakungu at the heart of defense. They've got Clive Bieta, who is the leading scorer of the league. He's got 19 goals to his name. Joseph Mumba, he's got 9 goals to his name. So I do not see why Mighty Mufulira Wanderers will not bounce back this afternoon. Their home form almost has been very, very brilliant, because Mighty Mufulira Wanderers have only won 3 games on the road in the entire season. So you can see it's their home form that has got them up. Yeah. And another important thing that will happen this afternoon, Trident. When Trident beat Kongola Blades, they will be crowned champions of the National League this afternoon. They were confirmed back into the Super League, the first team to be promoted. Trident, this time around, they are hosting Kongola Blades, who are also chasing for promotion. If they beat Kongola Blades this afternoon, they are back into the Super League, and they will be confirmed champions.
Some exciting games to look up to. Like it's something that they understand to say that's how the crowd pulls. But anyway, some exciting games, Augustine, as well. That's in the MTN Super League. We've got at 15 hours. Chambishi FC versus Kansanshi Dynamos. We've got Forest Rangers versus Power Dynamos. We've got Changa Rangers versus Zesco United Napsa Stars. Ongana hosting Napsa Stars. Prison Leopards, Green Eagles, Red Arrows hosting Lumwana Radiance, Augustine. And maybe before we look at it, we saw the game that was played last week. That was a derby. Did you expect the outcome?
I think if you look at the derby, the way it panned out, Power Dynamos probably wanted it most because they knew they were closing in on the league title. And you could see what Andy Boyle did to the game. Trinkling Kalonji was brilliant on the afternoon for Power Dynamos. But it wasn't a game where Nkana were overrode. No, Nkana had a very, very good first half. They looked at the team that was in control. But the second half, Power Dynamos came differently and went on to win the game by 2-0. I must confirm that Power Dynamos are not yet confirmed as champions. Yeah. Why? Because FC Muza are the only team in the league that can get to the same points with Power Dynamos if Muza are awarded the 3 points against Red Arrows. And if Muza win all their remaining games, they'll get to the same points with Power Dynamos, but there is a huge goal difference. If Muza needs to be winning 7-0 from now or 8-0 from now until the end of the season, and Power Dynamos will need to lose all their games from now until the end of the season. So let's just try and make this simple, simplify this. If Power Dynamos get anything this afternoon against Forest Rangers, they are confirmed champions of the Super League. If Muza drop points against Nkwazi at the Dunimboila tomorrow, it is confirmed that Power Dynamos are champions. But realistically, Power Dynamos are the MTN Super League champions. Mathematically, Muza stand a chance. And another interesting encounter this afternoon, Amos, it's in Chingola. Nchanga Rangers are hosting Zesco United. Nchanga Rangers are close to that relegation zone. If Ngwazi pick up maximum points against Muza tomorrow, and if Nchanga do not pick maximum points against Zesco United, they will go into that relegation zone, and they do not want to be there. Nchanga Rangers, they started like a team on fire. They look like one of the teams that will push for those continental slots. But in the second half of the season, ever since Agrechange took over, I think they've slowed down Nchanga Rangers. But the only positive that Nchanga Rangers is holding on to going into this game against Zesco United, they are the only team in the Zambian Super League that haven't lost a game at home. So Nchanga Rangers will go into this game positively thinking we haven't lost a game at Nchanga Stadium, the former Gapitas, and they will fancy their chances against a Judge Rwanda Minas to touch size Zesco United.
A surprising package, Augustine, that Angorapson I know would have said no to this is Napsa Stars, Augustine. They stand at position number 2 and they are being hosted by Ngana today.
They are fresh from beating Nchanga Rangers in the game where they won by 2-0. I think one of their goal scorers was Frederick Mimanzi. We would like to pass our sympathy. He lost his mother during the course of the week. Frederick Mimanzi, condolences to him and the family. But Napsa Stars, they have got a chance to qualify for continental football within the space of 3 years. If Napsa Stars achieve this fate, they would have qualified for Confederations Cup for 2 years. In the space for two seasons, in the space of 3 years, and they would have gotten relegated during this period and won the Absa Cup. I think it has been a topsy-turvy kind of situation at Napsa Stars and their fans. It's been a roller coaster, the highs and lows. But what Perry Mutapa has done, I think it's incredible. He went to Napsa Stars, got them promoted, won them the Absa Cup, and now he's on the verge of qualifying them for the CAF Confederations Cup. They are coming up against Nkana, who are fresh from a defeat against nemesis and rivals in Power Dynamos. They will want to get one over Napsa.
Red Arrows, Augustine.
Red Arrows,
Romana Radiance.
They had a chance to try and throw their name in the hat in terms of continental football against Nkwazi. They bottled it. Goalless draw. It was one of the boring games of the
season.
If I have to be honest, Red Arrows and Nkwazi, there was nothing to write home about. It was a very, very dull game, and a point for each, which didn't help any of the two sides. And Green Buffaloes disappointingly going to Kansanshi and being beaten by 2-1, and one of the scorers was a household name, Ronald Sate Kampani.
Still banging in the goals.
Yeah.
But just a quick one. Due to time, Augustine, let's look at the race in terms of the EPA, where the English Premier League is concerned. We've seen how it is. There is Manchester City, Arsenal, Manchester City. But we're looking at a Manchester City, Augustine, that is hosting Leeds today. And tomorrow, we've got another big game, Augustine, where Newcastle is hosting Arsenal. For me, this would decide Arsenal's fate.
I think me being a Zambian, my biggest pressure is down in the relegation zone. Patson Daka and these Leicester teams, they need to try and up their game and survive relegation. And I hope Dean Smith is the right man to save Leicester and Patson Daka. They have had a very, very bad injury. Kalechi Hianacho probably out for the rest of the season. Now they are just remaining with 2 guys to get them the goals in Patson Daka and Jimmy Vardy. Ever since Dean Smith took over, Jimmy Vardy has been in very, very good form. Yeah. He looks like the guy that will see them over the line. But Patson Daka has been good, putting in a very, very good shift on the right-hand side of attack, or the left. Erling Haaland, 35 goals in the Premier League. He's broken that record. But I think City look unstoppable at this moment. Sam Allardyce is coming as Leeds coach, and I do not see him getting anything at the Etihad. It's going to be very, very tough. Arsenal tomorrow, they go to the St. James's Park to face Newcastle. And as Manchester United fan, I would love Arsenal to beat them so that we get closer to Newcastle. But Newcastle have been very, very difficult to beat, especially at the St. James's Park. I think the only team in the top half to have gone there and won was Liverpool, to be beating Newcastle at the St. James's. Even City went there and got a 3-3 draw. Arsenal, the last time around last season, same place. It was the place where they lost the top 4. If you remember, to Tottenham. Tottenham went on and finished fourth, but I fancy Arsenal after a very, very good result against Chelsea, probably an Arsenal victory at the St. James's Park.
Anyway, due to time, like I said earlier, Augustine, whatever goes up must surely calm down. Your final closing remarks as we come to the end of the show.
To all your viewers for tuning in. It wouldn't be a show without you watching, and we appreciate your efforts and your contributions, all the callers, all those that are reaching us through Facebook. And I would like to urge each and everyone out there to trek to the nearest stadium, support Bola Yapazed, and don't forget, tomorrow the Women's League goes to the wire.
Finale.
1500 hours kickoff across the country. Women's football calls it lights out.
Anyway, like Augustine has said, let's keep on promoting our women's football, and that's the Women's League that we have here in Zambia, so that we'll be able to touch the women's team. Because mostly people would complain, Augustine, to say, why was the selection done like that? Yes, but when you ask them, they don't even know any
without
players.
Even watching
the
league.
You get. So maybe it's high time we start campaigning so that we start televising the Women's League. But for me, Amos, aka Amore, this is where we've come to the end of the show. On behalf of the whole entire production team, Elijah Chifita upstairs, and not forgetting to thank the pastors Victoria and Moses Chiluba for always giving us this platform to give you nothing but the best in terms of sports. For now, we say bye-bye, but stay glued to Camnet TV for amazing Katamandes coming on your screens with the weekly gospel show. We are out. Bye-bye.